Hi Mike. I'm going to give it just a minute, see if other people come on instead of starting too quickly. I'm using my turntable. Pretty sure it's not meant for clay, but it works for me. Because the fox is going to be a little bit bigger than what I've made before. Hi Brenda. So everybody say hi and tell us where you're from. I'm Caroline. I'm one of the admins on Pinch Potters, and I've been doing some live Facebook clay tutorials to help everybody out during this time of isolation. Unfortunately, I go back to work on Tuesday, so this is probably going to be my last one, and I'll maybe try and do one each weekend. And hi Lisa. You're not ready. Are you sure you're not ready, Mike? Have you not got your clay in front of you yet? Hi Jeannie. Hi Brenda. Hi Ina. That sounds like hyena. It's hi Ina. So I'm going to start by building the body, and then I'm going to add thighs and back paws, and then front legs and front paws. And once the body's made, I'm going to make a head. Now I'll tell you now, every single time I make a fox head, I make the nose too long and I always have to cut it. But there we go. So I'm going to make the body in 3 parts, mainly because I make one cone and then put a pinch pot base on it, but the one cone is too big for my fingers, so it's uncomfortable. So I make one cone and then use a fat, hi Jennifer, a fat coil to join to the cone to make it longer. So I'm just pinching out this cone. So my fingers only just go to the base. So that's as big a pinch pot as I like to start with. Anything else is just uncomfortable to do. And not necessary when you can use, so I'm using my fingers to pinch and push, thin it out. So this is going to be quite a big lad by the looks of it. I'm trying to get it so it's vaguely the same thickness of clay most of the way around. And all I'm doing is pushing inside, pushing into my hands. Okay, that's my start. So you imagine that's the neck and shoulders and the start of the back sort of thing. Definitely going to need more clay, but we're not worried about that. He's also not going to be able to hold himself up particularly well, so I will probably have to use a prop on him as well. And just start it there, push it into place. Rough and ready, so it is. Extra bit. Like that. extra body is always a bit rough and ready, because it's just a basic shape to start off with that's vaguely like the shape of a fox, and then I'll use my fingers to push it into place. So this is me doing the base of the body. Hi Anita. And people are watching 25. Okay, so when I'm doing a rough pinch pot, I quite often use both hands and just pinch away. I'll make it slightly wider, and then this can sit inside it most of the way around. I have to push it and then just smooth it into place, and at the end I'll put a hole in it so it allows it to air to get inside and hopefully dry out a little bit quicker. So I'm just smoothing the edge of that lower pinch pot into the body. I've got a bit of a dimple going on there. Smooth a little bit more into that hole. Okay, squeeze it to make it a little bit longer, and because I've got air trapped inside there now, it's a little bit more stable. So that is vague body shape. So I'm going to smooth the belly out a bit. And give it a bit of a sticky out chest, like there. That's the kind of, see, a little bit more of a sticky out chest around the back. So the back also tends to go in that bit there. So I'm just pushing it down with my fingers, basically, and I've got excess clay because the coil and everything was quite thick, so I can push some of that clay down in and into that gap there, pinch it out a little bit. Who needs tools when you've got fingers, eh? So that is kind of my body shape. Just smoothing off some of the dimples so that it's roughly a similar shape all the way around. Okay, how's that? Can you see that? So that's the start of the fox. Bum, chest, belly, kind of the start of the neck. So now I need more clay because I used all that. Another lump of clay. So he's sitting quite well at the moment, which is great. And I start putting things on him, he starts to fall over and stuff, but you can just use, I quite often will use, shape it and use a kind of prop, and that just helps to take some of the weight when he starts to go forward. So I'm going to move him over just a bit, so I've got a bit of room to work. I'm going to make the thighs and the legs. Let's make the front legs first. About that size. Maybe a little bit longer. And then flatten off the front a little bit so it's slightly more bulbous shaped. About there. Don't think that's too bad. So I need to make another one, similar size and shape. A little bit more. I think that's a little bit long now. Say, round off the edge, flatten it a little bit so it almost paw type of shape. That's going to go the other side. Flatten it a bit. I think that one's rounder than that one, so I'm going to take a little bit of clay. I'm going to coil it and then I'm going to slip it on the end of there. Smooth it under all the way around. So clay's nice and soft, so I don't have to worry about adding slip to anything that is. I think that's a little bit better. Button you guys up. There we go. We've got two back paws. Hello, Charity from Saskatchewan. Hi, Jenny from Florida. Right, so those are my two bottom paws, and then I've got to do a kind of round ball for the thighs. I tend to make it round but slightly thinner at the pointy end, so kind of there. And it needs to be about a third of the way up, so yeah, about there. I'm not trying to make this an overly accurate fox. All my foxes and animals are kind of stylized. So you should be able to recognize what animal it is, but things will not always be as they would be in the wild. Thank you. So I got it almost right, my pronunciation of Saskatchewan. Okay. So I'm just round ball, pinch out, trying to get them vaguely the same size. I think you might need a little bit more pinching. Yeah, roughly the same size. So I'll put one set down while we kind of decide where things are going. So this has to go underneath and this has to join. So it ends up looking a bit frog-like to start off with. So I'm just going to mark where that is. And then I'm going to use my brush. And on this side, mainly because I'm kind of pushing and just the edges are the bits that are going to be squashed in, not the actual whole of the body. So we want a little bit of slip to make sure that what I'm doing is I'm pushing the thigh on there, and then I would use my fingers, but it gets a bit damp, so and then I'm just kind of making sure it's joined well at the edge. And I'm going to push in on the inside just so that the thigh is well attached to the bottom of the leg more than anything else. A little bit more slip. Not soaking wet. It is attached. So I'm going to push that on. Possibly lift them up a little bit. Make sure it's well pushed on. And then I'm going to attach the back to the back of the fox. There we go. Kind of one side done. A little bit up there. Okay. Put our prop back in because he's leaning forward a little bit. Okay, one side. Then I've got to try and get the other side to be in a similar place, which is always fun and games. So I'm kind of aligning my hand up in the front of it so the paws are roughly in the same place. And then there. So I'm looking down at it and trying to make sure that they're in a similar place. Okay, that looks fine. I'm going to attach the foot and the thigh together. Foot and thigh. I think you seem to be sticking out a little bit further than the other guy. A little bit, maybe. Push it forward a bit. How's the front? That seems about right. So, a bit more slip because I took some of it off while doing that. Okay, and I can see where I want it to go, so I want it to go about there. Push it on first, and then split. And get the thigh going in to the body. Make a nice rounded shape. Kind of push it in to do the shape of the leg. Okay, so we have 2 back legs. Hi Christine, I hope you will be inspired to make some animals. I really enjoy doing it. It's very creative. I'm fine. I'm getting to the last days of my annual leave, which makes me sad because that means I have to go back to work soon. And it means I can't spend quite so much time doing clay stuffs, which is unfortunate. So this at the moment could be anything. You could turn this into a rabbit or a hare or a dog. No, they basically have a similar shape. So more clay, more clay. So next thing we're going to do is the front legs. So these are our shoulders. So we have a shoulder and the leg coming down and a paw. So I'm going to do 2 paws and kind of put them roughly where we're going to need them. And they're just circles, which are slightly... And I quite like the front paws to be quite a decent size. Because they always... Oh, Ina, you've been making animals. That's fabulous. Have you shared them with us? I'd love to see them. I think you look a bit big compared to that one. Roughly. So, I have 2 paws. We're just going to flatten them on the base and sit them there. They're roughly the same size. Bit bigger, which is good. Right, so front legs are just coils basically. Slightly wider at the top, thinner at the bottom. Not quite long enough yet. I'd say that's not bad. Okay, so I need 2 of those. They're very similar, rabbits and the fox, well, rabbit or hare. They're very similar. Well, I make them very similar. Other people might not make them very similar, but I make them quite very similar. A lot of it is in how you finish it, the type of tail you put on it, the shape of the face, but the body parts, you know, you can get away with making them quite similar. He seems about the same length. I'm going to flatten out the shoulder bit because that's going to attach to the body. Same with that side. I'm going to flatten out the shoulder bit. So I'm going to wet these, wet the shoulders. Do you want me to slow down, Mike? I'll slow down. I'm a fast maker. I just do that bit fast, and then it's the decoration bit that takes a long time. So, right, so we have a shoulder and a leg. I'm going to attach the shoulder, and I'm going to attach the leg to it. Now this, oops, it's already attaching itself. So I'll flatten it out a little bit, and I'll probably do a little bit of slip on the bottom of there as well, just to, this is quite a rough paintbrush, so it does put score marks on it. So I'm going to attach, because I know the legs are outside, I'm going to attach this, and then I'm going to use my tool and I'm going to smooth the back into the leg. I'm sure they have joint ankles and all sorts of things, but mine are up and down, so smooth it all the way around. Get a nice joint between them, and I'm going to just narrow the foot a little bit, and I'm going to smooth the front in. So smoothing it in, just like that. Okay. Right, so foot's on. It's kind of going to be fairly close to the front of the body and a little bit in from the back leg. So I'm going to just do a little bit of slipping on the shoulder, and then I'm going to just push it into place. Push it in first, so you're getting a good join. Quite often I find that my legs end up being a bit longer than what I like. So I want the leg to be quite straight. So now that it's on, I'm going to push the join and smooth it in to the body of the fox. And just smoothing it in so we've got nice shapes. Push that in a little bit, in there. So I don't know where that came from. Take it off. So there's one leg. I'm going to do the same for the other leg. I'm going to flatten the base, score this, score this, and then it's going to fit on that way, so I'm going to attach the foot, and then I'm going to lean it there, and then smooth the foot up and then down at the front into the foot. And same with the other side. Smooth the base of the foot up, and the same at the back, the base of the foot up into the leg. And I'm going to push it and narrow it just a little bit at the back. And then we're going to find somewhere. You're looking a bit long, I think. Looking a bit long. I think you'll be okay. Might need to press him up a little bit higher than the other one, but that's fine. So push it into place all around the shoulder, push shoulder in, and then smooth it into the back of the fox. Nice curves on the fox. Into the shoulder. we go. We have our foxy body. Just smooth out any of the bits. And I think his... that's about right. Just, I'm kind of go by either side just to see roughly whether his bits are similar place. The video will be up, Jennifer, so you can watch the video later on as well. Right, I'm going to do a little bit of work just down here, just to make sure the front of the thigh is well attached to the back foot. That's just pushing part of the round thigh bit into the foot. And the same on this side, so that we're not just relying on the slip to keep them joined together, relying on extra clay. Right, so that's my body done. I'm going to do the head and then the tail, so I'm putting him over here because I'm going to do the head and sculpt the head so that you can watch me sculpting the head. I need more clay. Hi Deb! You're going to make a fox, Deb? That would be cool. How's your fox coming along, Mike? And how are you getting on with your... Are you using your red clay to do it? Right, as I said at the start, that even though I've made 2 foxes now, okay, it's not very many foxes, I've made 2 foxes, I always have to cut the nose off and reattach it because it's always way too long. So, I'm going to try making the head a slightly different way from my other times. So I'm going to make a kind of oval, couple of oval pinch pots. I'm going to try and make it a bit like I made my cats. So that's a round ball and then a snout. So I'm going to try and do that with this. So I'm going to make a slightly ovalish pinch pot. A bit like that. And then I'm going to make a second one to attach to that. Cool. I'll be excited to see it. Mike's making a fox using a red clay. And I have some red clay, but I've never used it for making any statues, so I'll see how Mike gets on, and then maybe the next one I make will be in red stuff. Okay, so that's my vaguely matching pinch pot. And so my clay's quite soft, so I don't really have to worry about adding loads of slip when I'm squishing the clay together. If I was attaching something and I didn't want it to lose its shape, then I would do slip, so like the legs and feet and things like that. But this is all about squishing clay together, so we're fine. Okay, so let's flatten you out. I want a kind of oval shape. Kind of flat on the bottom there. I want to squeeze the edge out a little bit. See, my foxes are a little bit stylized, so if you want to make it more realistic looking, spend some time with pictures of foxes while you're sculpting. You would still do it this way, but you would maybe spend a little more time trying to get the head shape very fox-like. Whereas I quite like the head shape to be looking like a fox rather than being a fox. So that's the back of my head and some of the front. So next bit is snout. Hi Amy! So Snout wants to be slightly narrower at the end. It says, when I'm doing pinch pots, I try and start with a similar shape to what I want to end up with. Just makes life a little bit easier. So if you're wanting to do a shallow bowl, you start with a fairly decent sized ball, but not round. Okay, so that's my start, my snout. So just pinch pot, put my finger in it, and I'm pushing all the way around to make the gap bigger, and then I'll say similar to hairs as well. So yeah, I quite like that. Looks foxy already. So I'm going to put a little slip on here just because I don't want to ruin the shape of my snout, but I do want to press it in. So I'm going to put it so it's fairly close to the bottom of the head, and then push it on. And sometimes when you put slip in, I find it easier to use a tool because the slip makes my fingers really slidey and wet. So I'm going to flatten this because this is the top of the snout. So flatten it and then smooth it with my fingers. So it's fairly flat. And the sides. Base. Flatten the base. Easiest way to flatten the base. Bung it on the table. Okay, so and then this side. There we go. Let me see. Something that way. That is the start of my fox head. And then what to do to make sure that you haven't made a major mistake and you have to go back is put the fox head on the body and think, is it big enough? Yeah, I think he's okay. I'm going to put a nose, so that's going to make it stick out a little bit, and big ears, so yeah, I think that's good enough size for that body. Usually I make the body far too small, which is not very useful. So I'm getting something to prop him up a little bit. I should have a cushion or something like that, but I don't. So there we go. So where are we? Absolutely charity. They will all be posted up in Pinch Potters eventually. I post everything. People are bored of my stuff because I post everything I make up there. So eyes. Eyes are forward facing for foxes. But they're on either side of the nose. So I'm going to pinch my nose in just a little bit, and then I'm going to push with my thumbs to make kind of indents. So you've got a proper nose and an indent. Okay. Right. So next is two eyeballs. I try and make them a similar size, but I'm not always good at that. So I make one and go, is that about right? That seems to sit in there quite nicely. So let's make a second one, try and get it a similar size. And see, that one's already bigger than the other one. So take a little bit off, roll it again. They seem about right. Bit slip. I'll put the ball in and I twist it around a few times, and that gets it nicely adhered to the side of the head. Okay. I'm probably going to have to put more into the cheeks, build the cheeks up a little bit, but I'll do that once I've put the eyeballs in and the eyelids. Okay, so on there, and that on there. And let's say it's all a bit damp, so I tend to use a tool to stop my fingers from getting soaking wet. Okay, so that's the bottom eyelid. It's a thinner one because I don't want it to cover up too much of the fox's face or the eyeball. I want it to smoothing that in, just getting the very edge to go into place. There we go, we have one fox eye. So I'm going to try and do something similar to the other side. Put it there. Let's see if I can do it from one side. Okay. So something like that. His was going up there. Okay. So I'm going to put some more cheek in there because his cheek's a bit thin. Okay. I'm going to make that a little bit longer. Okay. And then just smooth it in, and I'm going to put a little coil in the back there because it's a little bit further away from the edge than I would like. So I'll smooth them in together. There we go. Right, cheeks. I think his cheeks should be further out. So I'm going to put a little bit of slip on there. Roll a fat coil at one end, thin it at the other end, and just shove that into place. Like that. And then work on smoothing it into the nose. Smoothing the bottom bit into the base. Again, my fingers are a little bit wet, so usually it's just a flat tool. Clean it off every now and again. A little bit prominent, so I'm going to smooth it down a bit. And just smoothing it in, so one, it's joined, and two, you can't see the join. So I'm doing it delicately on this side so that you do not lose the definition of the eye. And I'll push it down, smooth it a bit more. There we go. I just used a fat coil, fatter at one end, thinner at that end, put it below the eye, but I'm going to do a second one. I'm going to do one on that side as well, just so that it's sticking more out rather than it's not too thin on that side. So it's just a fat coil. You want it to go from there to kind of the nose. A little bit of slip, because I'm not going to be able to twist it so much, so I want the inside to stick, and then I'll smooth it the rest of the time. So gently smooth it into the eye so you don't lose the shape of the eyelid or the eye. I'm forever doing that. Get it all nice and round and looking good, and then start adding bits and realise that you've squished the eye or you've squished the eyelid. It's not as nice and rounded as it was before. So in there, and then I flatten it a bit because nobody has cheeks that stick that far up. So flatten it in place. Smooth, smooth. There you go. It's a slightly better shape. I think you're slightly more prominent than the other, and this has got an extra bit coming out there. So if you look at it, it's got a nice chunky bit coming out there, but this one has kind of lost its chunky bit. So I'm going to add a coil on this side so that it sticks out to match the other side. And if you have watched any of mine where I've been making an animal, what do I say? Nothing in nature is symmetrical. So neither are my statues. None of them are symmetrical. So yeah. So to build it up, I just use coils, or it depends on how much I need to build up. Sometimes I might use just flat little chunks or little blobs of clay. And again, I'm smoothing it gently into places where I've already kind of done some definition, so I don't lose the shapes. Okay, let me see. You've got an extra chunk there. That side sticking out more. So instead of carving that down, I'm just going to add an extra chunk on this side. I'm holding it in this position so I can see the shapes. Tool. Again, gently in there, so I'm not using the shape of my eye. You know what? That just needs a bit more eyelid, actually. There we go. Nose. Need to do nose. Nose. Right. So, nose is just round bit. Flatten it. It's almost like a love heart without the curves at the top. So that's kind of how I do my noses. And then I shove it on the end, flatten it a bit more, and then flatten the top into the rest of the head. Push it down and flatten it. So you've got a distinctive bit there. And I'm just going to flatten the bottom bit a little bit so it's not quite as pointy. So that's the start of the nose, and then we're going to do a bit of cheeks at the front, which are going to be, we're going to curve so they're slightly lower than the nose, but I'm flattening them at the top so they'll look like that. Oops, stick to my fingers. So slightly curved at the bottom, flat at the top, and we want 2 of those. And they can be a little bit longer than each other as long as they're not too wide, too much wider than each other. I'll just pull that bit off. Okay, so a little bit of slip, a little bit of adding that in. So I'm not going to do anything with that bottom because I want that bit to be there, but the top is just part of the face, so we're going to smooth the top into place. You can't see it. And then I'm going to get coil, and this is how I do lines and edges. So a bit too long. And I'm going to flatten it a bit. And I'm going to add the coil, and let's see, it's kind of where my mouth's going to be. So it's going to go slightly up. So that's going to be the edge, bottom edge of my top lip. And this bit is just going to smooth into the body so you're not going to see it. those to be roughly in the same place. I put a little bit of clay on there because it wasn't the same, there was a bit of a gap. Okay, and then because it really doesn't have an overhang like a dog or like a rabbit, I'm going to cut in to it so you can see both upper and lower lips, and I'm going to cut in there. No spicy. Right, so that's the first part, and then I'm going to measure my second part against my first part so I get the side lip to be roughly the same. Okay, and I'm just going to join them together just for ease of making. And a bit of slip. I think I did the slip on the wrong side. I'm going to slip on the other side. It's going to be soaking wet because I can't remember which side. My spatial awareness is not great. So that's going to be my other side. So we're going to pushing it into place so they just about meet. Like that. And then I'm going to put that into kind of opposite from that one. And then, yeah, tool. Smoothing tool. Smooth those in together. Flatten my coil a little bit. Smooth it into the side of the face. Okay. Take my end of my tool and kind of cut around. So there we go. Mr. Fox. I need to put holes in his nose and I need to put ears on. But there we go. That's his head so far. So down there, is that better? Let's see if I can get that. Make that a little bit easier. There we go. Am I doing it too high, I think? Okay. So yeah, so those are just 2 round circles attached, and then I've kind of squeezed them together. And then coils going into the side for forming the upper lip. And then I've used this to just cut around the curve so you can see the lower lip. And then I've got to put in the nostrils. Now, that one, no, I think I need it slightly bigger. That one possibly. It's decent size, so I'm going to put them a little bit in there. Okay. Try to do it where I'm not squashing any other bits of the face. And in there. Okay. And I'm going to put a hole all the way through, just so that air can get into the nose part. So I'm going to attach the head to the body before I attach the ears, because the ears are quite fragile and I don't like moving the head around once I've got the ears on, so I put the ears on first. I'm glad, Betsy. I really like the one I posted, but it took forever to do. So I'm going to give, now can we see that? Right, so I'm going to give him a neck, which is just a chunk of clay. I'm just making it a round ball at the moment, and I will change the shape of it when I decide just exactly what the position of. So I'm just putting it on, squeezing it into the body, not overly worried about the positioning at the moment. I just want to get it on there so that I can decide where my fox's head is going, whether he's looking down, whether he's looking up. So it's on there at the moment, and then I'm going to I think he's going to be looking down a bit because the other mice, yeah, he's going to be looking down a bit. So I'm going to flatten the front a little bit, make it so it supports the head when I put on it. Into place. Okay, so slip and score this bit. I'm just going to slip the whole of the base. I'm going to put you on slightly to the side, maybe. Yeah, and then I'm going to squish my neck. I'm keeping hold of my head because it will fall off if I don't keep a hold of it. I'm going to squish the neck into the head, all the way around, well into the head. Might even add more clay. Keeping hold of the head because it is heavy. Right, I'm going to put more clay under the neck. I'm going to put a bit in here. I'm going to put it in like that to start off with, and then I'll smooth it into place. I'm going to do the other part first. That's where I'm trying to, I'm sure you can't see it, but I'm trying to lean down to get everything in place, and I'm taking some of that clay that I put on the other side and smoothing it into the head. It's all about attaching it correctly. Right. I might actually get another prop and add a prop to it, just so the head doesn't fall off. Okay. Got too much clay on that side, so I'm going to dig some out. This is probably difficult to see, but I really can't move it so that you can see it. So basically I'm just trying to get as good a join as possible between my neck and my head. Okay. So I'm smoothing clay up from the neck into the head. I put an extra bit in because the join was a bit thin at the front. And I'm doing that all the way around. Now, do I have, it's a bit, I'm looking for something shortish that I can use as a prop. It's not bad, he's actually holding in place, but I don't want to chance it. So, see, I can't do that because I wanted to swing it around. Do I have something shorter? Make do and mend, so we are with props. So this is a paintbrush. I'm going to put a little bit of clay on either end of it. Stay in place, you. I think it's still, ooh, take the end off the paintbrush. Oh, we're almost be there. This is just to provide extra support onto the head so that when I put things like ears on, my head doesn't fall off, basically. There we go. Got something supporting the head. So the head's in the right place. Can you see that? Let's get you a little bit further back. There we go. So it's a downward looking fox we've got here. A little bit that way, a little bit. So I've got a prop that's taking some of the weight off the head so that the neck has more support. And what I think I'll do is, I think I'll do his tail next and leave his ears to last. So, tail. Foxes have nice bushy tails. Mine probably end up being bushier than they are. So the first part is a pointy bit of clay, and then I hollow it out as a pinch pot. So nice and hollowed out. Smooth it, push it with my fingers, hollow it out. Okay, so that's part of the tail. I think I probably need more clay, but we'll... yeah, I think I need a little bit more clay. Okay. And this is going to be a similar shape to the previous bit, so it's like two cone shapes, but not as pointy. This one's going to have a kind of flat end, but go out wider. So that's that kind of shape. Screen again. Is that better? So I have to wait for the video to catch up. Okay, yeah, that's better. So that's the tail. So stick a hole in it, pinch out. I'm leaving this part solid because that's the bit that's going to join to the body, so I'll be smoothing some of that into the body. So I don't need to hollow it out. It's not particularly thick either. Okay, so where are we? I might pull that in just a little bit. Curve it in, sit it on top. I think that could be bigger, but we're not going to worry about that. Just pushing the big pinch pot into the little pinch pot. Because once I've sealed it up, I can squeeze it a little bit and change its shape. So, big pinch pot into little pinch pot. Squeeze, bit of a squeeze. Squeezing it, I'm changing its shape, but it's still nice and hollow. Okay. When I attach, sometimes I end up getting a bit of a hole in it, but I can patch it once it's in its right shape. But this is a bit of an indent there, so I'm going to take another bit of clay. I'm just going to stick it in and then smooth it into the tail. Smooth it in, smooth it in, smooth it in. Just using my fingers. I like to have a nice big bushy tail on my foxes. And I'm planning to, you might want to get yours a little bit more, and I'm squeezing it again to elongate it, make it into a nice point. Okay, and then I'm going to curve things because it's going to curve round the body. A little bit of a bit there. I'll say as you curve it, you might end up with it cracking a bit. So as it does that, I just patch it with more clay. So that's kind of it. I think I need some patching here. And some there. Okay, how are we doing? So I'm going to attach the tail to the base so that the tail lies level with the body and we don't have to worry about it hanging in the air and cracking. So I might put an extra bit of this on here just because the end of the tail is not quite long enough. So that's kind of the middle. So I'm going to put that into the body first and up into the body, and that's going to be my stump for my tail. I'm going to get it all nice and wet and score it. Yeah, when you trap them, who's that, Brenda? When you trap the air inside it, it gives it a kind of stability, so that when you can squeeze it and pinch it and, you know, change the shape. Oh, let's see if I can move this over. So, no, it's not good. Alright, I'm going to attempt to move the fox over a little bit so that there's support for my tail. So that could be fun. Oh, there we go. Still all on? Yeah, still on. Okay. Yeah, so the air inside it helps to support it, so you can squeeze it, you can paddle it, you can move it around. Alright, and I'm going to put that on there. And just get it all going in. There we go. I'm going to put a little bit underneath. Can't really see it, but just all helps with the whole joining. I'm pushing it around my finger and get a bit of a tool in there. Smooth it in together. Kind of flatten it up. Right, I'm going to add an extra little bit of clay so that just because the shape's a little bit sharp in that corner, I don't want it quite so sharp. The end of the tail is definitely thinner than the rest of the tail, but I don't think it's quite that sharply different in contrast to the bushiness. So okay, we have one foxy tail. And how's the neck? Just going to put a little bit extra bit in there. Okay. Slightly thicken it, we don't mind. So that's kind of my fox. We just need to do my tail basically, ears should I say. Just need to do ears. Thank you very much, Tracy. Oh, you're not really on the screen now, are you? I keep on moving the screen around and things get out of place. Right, is that better? Let's see if we can move you back a little bit. There we go. Foxy. Foxy, foxy. Right. So, ears. Someone said my ears are a bit big. Ah, well, I like big ears. As I told you at the start, my animals are stylized, so they're going to look enough like a fox that you're going to know they're a fox. They're going to have all the same parts that a fox does, but they might not look exactly like a fox. So my ears start as a how just about everything seems to start by making a kind of cone shaped. How many cone shapes have I made during this fox? There's nose and there's body and there's a tail. Most of it's cone shaped, pointy like a fox. So here, and the best thing to do is to make two round about the same size, and then the ears might be vaguely similar sized and shaped. Let's have a look. Squeeze that a little bit more, smooth it off. That's roughly about the same size shape. So, back over here a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So when I do my ears, so I'm waiting for the video to catch up with my placement of the camera. Alright, so I do my ears, I pinch up the middle, and then I pinch each side out. So they end up the shape of an ear. I'm going to just thin the edge. Thin the edge. So we have one ear. Slightly there. You can change the shape of the ear. So one ear. I'm going to do exactly the same with the other side. Pinch up the middle. Pinch one side. Pinch the other side. Pinch the back a little bit just to flatten it out. Here's a slightly more curved ear. I can change the shape, so flatten them out. Similar, not the same though. Flatten out a little bit, widen that bit out. A bit more similar. Ah, they're not far off. Ah, that's how I do pottery. Ah, it's close enough. The ear is just one solid bit, pinched, flat and curved. So this is solid, it's not hollow. That thick all the way around. Yeah, nice big ears. So I'm making a couple of coils because when I attach the ears I reinforce them with coils because their attachments are quite delicate. And usually I forget to make the coils until actually I've got the ears in place. So I've got holding a head and sticking ears on and then going, oh, hold on a minute. These aren't quite right. So the ears slightly bend on one side. So they kind of sit on a bit like that. So for these ones I need to do opposites. I'm not good at opposites, but I'll go for that. So we've got two ears. I'm going to flatten the base a bit. Just give me more of a surface. I'm going to slip and score it. And then I'm going to decide where it's going to go. So this is going to be a difficult bit. With the head sticking forward, it's not easy. So I'm thinking about there. So first thing I do is I smooth the flattened bit into the head. Okay. And then while holding it, I do a little bit of smoothing off the back end. And then I get this trusty coil and I stick this trusty coil onto the head. And then I kind of push into the middle of the coil and push the top of the coil into the ear and then the bottom of the coil into the head. And do that all the way around, so halfway in. Oh, where are you? Let's see if I can move the back. How are we doing? Not slightly better? No, hold on. Catch up with what I'm doing. No. You're gonna stay. Let's see if I can put the camera slightly higher up. Ooh. Might need some clay to stick that on. Oh no. Are you gonna stick? No. guys while I find something that's slightly thicker to prop my camera up with. Alright, let's try this. Let me see, how's that look? Woo! Not better? Okay, so put my coil around. Oh, not that tool, this tool. And then halfway down the centre of the coil, one half goes into the head, the other half goes into the ear. So kind of, I just push it into place and then like that. I'm going to do something with that texture, but at the moment it's all about getting the ear well attached. So I'll push it slightly further in. And that's basically what I'm doing all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to put the coil on the inside around the curve of the ear. Get it in. Can you see that? Let's see. Slightly further over. Now I can't see, which doesn't help. And I'm basically doing the same thing. Top half of the coil into the ear, the other half of the coil into the head. And smooth it so you can't see the joint at all. A bit there. Okay, I'm going to change where the ear is sitting. It's sitting a little bit far down for my liking. Okay, so that's one ear. Now I have to get the other ear in a similar place. Okay, so flatten the base. Gives me a good chunk to add slip to. Right, so I have to have it facing me so that I'd get it vaguely in the right place. Woohoo! Bit too swingy. So that one's vaguely where I want it to be. And I'm going to, that bit that I flattened out, I'm going to flatten into the inside of the ear. And then I'm going to take a coil, attach it there. And then just gently lay it all the way down and round the ear. And then you'll be able to see what I did with the other ones easier. So push it half in, just pushing it gently into the ear. And then sliding the bottom half into the head. Same with the other side. Okay. Problems with my lighting here. I'm not seeing. That'll be better. Light shining right in my eyes. Okay. Same with that. Push that into the ear. Okay. There's a little bit underneath to be done. that you possibly can't see. But on base, I'm just doing the same thing, flattening that coil into the ear. Smoothing it in. And then there's just a little bit here. So I'm making it so you can't see any joins. No. What are you doing, Tofu? Get down. Okay. So that's a little bit sharp. Smooth it off. Right. That's a fox. I'm going to attempt to take this away so that you can see. Oh, last thing. Absolute last thing. Where's my sharp tool? Sharp thin tool, where are you? There. Absolute last thing. I'm going to put texture on mine, so I'm going to probably roll out some thin coils and add extra texture to them, but I'm not going to do that on camera because it's long-winded and a bit slow. Do you want me to show you how I did it on the tail? Because I'm going to do similar on the rest of the body, but I could show you on the tail because it won't take too much. But the one thing I'm going to show you first is, let's see if I need to support it. 1, 2, 3 cuts. 1, 2, 3 cuts. 1, not as easy on the back paws when they're all attached. 2, 3. Try and get the other one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, pause. I tend to also give them a wee bit of a push down and a wee bit of smooth. Take off extra. But a little bit of a push down at the end for the claws. A bit of a push down. Okay. So that's the basic paws. So you want to see the tail. So I'll leave him all attached at the moment. Oh gosh, it's hitting the water bottle. And I'll show you the tail. So my last tail of my really textured fox, it was kind of flowy looking. So I'm going to do that with the rest of the body of this one, but I'll show you on the tail what I'm going to do. So basically, kind of a leafy shaped bit of clay, pinched quite thin and quite flat, because it's going to be attached to the tail. You don't need to have it any thickness. Actually, you don't want it any thickness because you're adding extra clay to it and you don't really want. So you take it and I just kind of find somewhere to attach it, and I just attach it. Just push it on. It's got enough slip on it. And then I do another one. They don't have to be exactly the same shape. It's to put texture on it. So that one's going to go on a slightly different place. So I'm going to curve it. Push it on. I'm not going to smooth the edges in. I want the edges to kind of be there. So don't worry about the shape too much. Make sure there's plenty of water in it. So some of them might even be sticking up a little bit. Just make sure that it's basically attached. I'll do a few and then I'll add the texture onto it. Hi Cookie, how are you? So another one in the back, overlapping this one, curving down, push into place. Alright, so I do that and then I get a It's not a sharp tool, it's a kind of slightly curved tool. Get him off all the dry clay. And I do kind of just shapes into it that go in the direction that the bit of fur is flowing. So I do it on all the ones I just put in. Okay. And when they're dry a bit, and sometimes I might do them if there's bare bits to see. And when they're dry a bit, I will take a paintbrush and kind of smooth them over. So I will do that all the way back, and then I'm going to do some on the body as well. So you'll see that later. So I'm going to take my prop out in the hopes that we will be able to see. Yeah, I think once I've, possibly next week, I'll start to upload these to my YouTube channel as well. So they'll always be available. Right, so here's a moment of truth. See if his head falls off. There we go. And he falls over. There we go. So, I'm going to see if I can give you a slightly better visual. Take it out. And there's our finished Foxy Fox. There we go. All done. Are we still here, Mike? How did we get on? I expect to see pictures if you got your fox done. I'm going to spend a little bit of time after the video stops, and I'm going to add lots of those leafy shaped bits of texture and texturize them a little bit more and make them even foxier. I hope you enjoyed that. I will hopefully do one next weekend. I've really enjoyed doing these with you guys, and if I wasn't going back to work full time, I'd do more. Okay, bye for now, guys.